Classic Business with Michael Avery, sponsored by Alex Forbes, for insight, advice, and impact.
Well, quantum computing has moved from academic fringe circles to everyday tech discussion. Today, I think many people wonder if these futuristic machines will soon handle tasks that push the limits of standard processes. This question got a boost from Google, which shared an optimistic timeline that contrasts with more cautious forecasts. So Google reckons we could see quantum computing in just 5 years' time. So it's a very interesting question because depending on who you ask, it's either the second coming of the computer age or the fastest way to break the internet as we know it. Well, today I'm joined by Africa's foremost AI thought leader, Johan Steyn, founder of AI4Business.net. Johan, it's all about separating the quantum bits from the qubits, the fact from the fiction. But I'm wondering if you can, just at the very beginning, explain to me what is quantum computing? Explain it to me as if I'm 95 and I've never heard of computing before.
Michael, great to be with you. In fact, I had to explain it to my 11-year-old 2 days ago because I told him about this interview. I must acknowledge ChatGPT did help me. But just to break it down very briefly, digital computers work with ones and zeros. A set of 8 represents a character. Every time you press a character on your keyboard, it is a combination of ones and zeros, 8 of them. And that's why we get 8, 16, and you keep on multiplying them. That's digital computing, that is silicon-based computing. Powerful, but limited. And then we get quantum computing. And the best way I explain it to my MBA classes is if you take a 1, you draw a line to a 0. In digital computing, a bit can be a 1 or a 0. That is it. But what if you draw a square and there's another 1 and 0 at the top? And what if you then draw it as a 3D image where there's another 4 ones and zeros and it's a 3D image that's spinning? And in quantum physics, that 1 and 0 can be either a 1 and 0 at the same time. I mean, it sounds a little weird, but it is a total different dimension to think about computing. So you can imagine then, if you can take a 1 and a 0, it can be a 1 and a 0 at the same time, and it can be multiple millions of ones and zeros at the same time. The amount of computing power. Now, like you said in the intro, Michael, it's been for a long time part of physicists and research and just a kind of fiction. But it is becoming real, and we're seeing the advances. And the question now is, what do we do with this? How real is it? Can we actually use it in our everyday lives? Is it expensive? And what are we going to see in the next 10 or so years with this technology?
Yeah, I mean, one of the fears I often read about and hear about on other podcasts is using this technology will enable, a new form of cryptography, which means, on the other hand, you can actually hack the current cryptography that underpins much of the crypto space and anything on the blockchain and that kind of thing. You'd be able to hack into people's business accounts, their banking accounts, and we hear about these fears. But let's maybe just unpack how it could potentially revolutionize everything that we know about computing. What are the real-world applications that business leaders should be paying attention to?
Just to track back a little bit, Michael, the cryptography and the security of our systems, our national security systems, our military systems, our banking systems, that's a big thing. Now, Willow, the Google chip that was in the news quite a bit over the last few weeks, what we've seen is they've said that a typical computer will take 10 septillion years. Now, I had to really Google that term. That's 1 followed by 24 zeros. Number of years, it's more than the age of the universe. And what Google claimed is that this Willow chip can solve a complex problem under 5 minutes that would take 1 times 24 zeros, 10 septillion years. Now, I don't think Google would release it if it was nonsense. But then the question, to your point, is what does it mean for business leaders? And I think one of the biggest things, as you've already said, is around cryptography. Are any of our systems, any of our privacy protection systems, every of our IP systems, even from a national security point of view down to our banking system, secure? And the answer is it's not. It's hackable with this technology. Now, we have seen that major players like IBM, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and others are doing a lot. I call it like the antivirus for quantum computing.
All right.
to make sure that your systems are protected against a potential quantum computing hack. Look, I think it'll take a few years before we really see the real world applications, but my view is that business leaders should do a lot more to educate themselves and get ready for this, and to make sure that, especially when nation states, adversarial nation states and companies attack them with this technology, that they know about it and that they are ready. The people I speak with, big companies, smart people, have still not heard about quantum computing, which is surprising to me. So I think it's a relevant discussion to have, especially in the African context when we speak about digital colonization. Quantum computing will take digital colonization to total world takeover, and we need to avoid that at all costs.
Well, and that's why we need to start thinking about this technology now. We can't just think, well, it exists on the fringe of theoretical physics and this idea that you can exist in multiple different states at once, superposition, all of this. It just sounds, too fantastical to be real. But we're seeing with Willow, in fact, there was a WITS team recently that managed to use laser beams for quantum computing that you shared with me. So we're doing our own research here, which brings me back to my point. How are you seeing the local computing community engage with this? And are the businesses that you chat to, who are still probably wrapping their heads around AI, even thinking about quantum computing?
Yes, that was exactly what I wanted to say. Most of the businesses, large businesses I deal with, Michael, are still getting their heads around AI, using it ethically, finding the right business cases for it. There's been a lot of progress, and then we're going to wrap this AI regulatory framework that we probably will see by the middle of this year, hopefully in our country, around complying to that. A lot of our big firms are dealing with the European Union, which is an extraterritorial legislative framework, which means all of our banks are probably dealing with the EU, so they have to comply. And we just saw that I think it was in the last 2 weeks, that the next phase, because it's a phased approach to that regulatory framework, has been released, which includes digital or AI literacy for businesses dealing with the European Union. When it comes to learning and development, internal learning in businesses, my experience is they're not even scratching the surface yet. So I think there's a real rush to get ready for it. And that's the point. If we are just starting to scratch the surface on AI regulation, when are we going to get to quantum computing? Because AI is limited to computing power. Our children will one day look back and say, because the other day I showed my son a tape, those tape recorder devices, a remix that I made from 5FM, it was Radio 5. I hated that the DJ spoke over the music all the time. He thought I lived in the Stone Age. And our children will look at our AI stuff in the age of quantum computing in the same way. But my encouragement to business leaders is get ready for AI if you're not. But and from a legislative framework, but get ready for quantum computing. There are a lot of great business cases that financial services, medicine, etc. can use. We can maybe unpack that. You have to read 3-5 hours a day as a business leader to stay on top of this. Don't just rely on your external vendors. You as an individual need to stay on top of it. And there's no AI that can fix laziness. And I know we're very busy and we've got kids and we work for 24 hours sometimes, Michael. We all have to get ready for this.
And we've got in the palm of our hands, most of us, access to AI teachers that can at least help speed up that process. So I don't think there's any excuse. What do you see as the most exciting application that's emerging so far with what we know and understand right now about quantum computing?
Yeah. Look, I think it's in the arena of medicine and developing proactively medical solutions for problems we know about, but problems we can predict we will have. And that, I think, quantum computing could be the answer to cancer, the thousands-year-old scourge that's been troubling us, that we still don't have a real answer for, and other illnesses like that. Because, again, it can take the data of hundreds of millions of people, billions of people, and then instantly quantified and find solutions, drug discovery. So I think when it comes to longevity and better health, that is probably, in my opinion, the best application of this technology. And then also in financial services, because again, that's where the budgets lie. That's and perhaps telco, is to be able to, if you think of a bank with 600,000 or even 6 million customers, to, within a few seconds, analyze what's happening in real time regarding the behavior of their customers on their platforms, and to upsell products, to also detect, potential fraud, a fraud which is a massive issue at the moment across the world, but also in our country. That is it. So for me, education as well, but let's say with drug discovery, longevity and health, and financial services, that's probably where we will see the most advances in this tech over the next 5 years or so.
Very exciting. And I know 2025 has been declared the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology. So I guess we should be looking out for some major milestones over the next 12 months, let alone the next 5 years. But if you're a business leader listening to this who's intrigued but not sure where to start today, what's the one thing they should do today to prepare for the quantum revolution?
Yeah. Michael, it's already being democratized. There are already certain cloud solutions by the big players like IBM and Microsoft and Amazon and others, where you can utilize their cloud computing systems for your own business benefit. A cloud computing computer are billions of dollars. You need like minus 200 degrees centigrade to host it, etc. So rather use it on a consumption basis. But you might not have to use it yet. My advice would be make sure you get your head around AI, regulation, the best business cases for your particular business, and a continual education of yourself as an executive and of your team, your executive team in particular. Stay on top of this because it is going to happen very quickly. This year, Michael, I think we will see a real democratization of this technology. So upskilling the right business cases, that would be my advice.
Well, that's great advice, and I think I'm certainly going to go and do a bit more upskilling of my own knowledge around qubits and quantum computing. But don't panic. Douglas Adams, I've always lived by that. It's probably the best way to go. Johan Steyn, thank you very much. As always, great chatting to you and sharing those insights here on Classic Business.
Classic Business with Michael Avery, sponsored by Alex Forbes, for insight, advice, and impact.